Welcome back to the 411 Podcasting Network. I am your host, Larry Csonka, and this is episode 82 of the 411 on Wrestling Podcast. You can follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, the 411mania.com website, and any major podcasting platform. Please make sure to subscribe to our show, share us around on social media, and if you have time, leave us a 5-star review on the podcasting platform of your choosing. Joining me today, making a return appearance, is my good friend from BackBodyDrop.com, Ian Hamilton. Ian, how are you today, sir?
Hey, Larry. Who asked for this?
I did. That's all that matters.
Yep, and great to be back. And we're talking about, I guess, the first big show in the United Kingdom's Watch this evening. So, yeah, UK Takeover Blackpool II, the most unwieldy show name ever. And if you try and shorten it, I think it becomes something like Nut B2, which, hey, Bull Buchanan's happy with it. So I don't think anybody else was.
Yeah, I saw some of that. That was pretty good. But, yeah, NXT TakeOver Blackpool 2020/Blackpool II. We previewed this show. There was definitely a lot of potential on the card, especially we talked to Tyler Bate and Jordan Devlin and stuff like that. So we will go ahead and we'll give this a breakdown today. We started off with Eddie Dennis and Trent Seven, singles match to open up the show. And I think like the important thing we talked about with this wasn't so much who won or so much how good the match was, but more how Eddie Dennis looked, because we were both a little concerned about him. He was coming off the torn pec. Didn't exactly look, he had like the one appearance, didn't look bad, but didn't look great or quite 100%. So he had his first I guess in NXT UK, his first extended match here, beating Trent Seven in 8 minutes. Ian, your thoughts?
So, yeah, I think since we last spoke, managed to see Eddie's first match in progress, first big match in progress since injury. I would say aggressively fine, but he's perfectly solid. The match with Trent, Eddie's playing playing the heel. That mask, I think a lot of people were taking fun of. Was it Snard? Was it great music? If they're going for something, I just don't think the open of TakeOver is maybe the best time to debut like war paint or stuff like this. Especially for a feud that was built on Eddie holding onto a handshake for too long. But that's just me. Match I thought was pretty fine. They went 8 minutes. A bit of dangerous stuff in here, mind. A bit of the theme for the night. Tom Phillips kept calling the Razor's Edge. WWE's the land of branding. It's the Seven Bridge bomb they called, whether it's a buckle bomb or what have you. I guess the big moment people are going to think of, I don't know if they watch this and remember, right at the end, Eddie Dennis giving that Seven Bridge from the ring to the floor. And, I'm not usually one of these guys to go, oh, but you did this. It's scary. It's when Canyon was thrown off the Triple Cage, WCW back in the day. I'm not usually one for that kind of outrage, but man, especially that shot they showed of Trent, going on to some poor sod at ringside and then into the dashboards. The same day the La Parka news came through, that to me was maybe a bit too close to the bone. It was fine, obviously, but yeah, just that the optics from that, and that not even being the finish. Come on, guys.
Yeah, it felt a little over the top for the opening match, because as you said, this was built off of Eddie Dennis coming back and being rude by holding on to Trent's hand. It wasn't like there was this deep-rooted hate there. You know what I mean?
Was in the news a while back. The Pope had similar treatment. Not the Pope did, was just brush the woman's arm off. He didn't, demand a match. Didn't throw the woman from the ring into some security railings. It just felt like the match was fine. It just didn't fit the setup.
Yeah, I thought it was like low level good, like Gentleman's 3 territory, and I think Trent's a really great babyface. I think he just gets so overlooked because Pete and Tyler are the stars of the team and obviously excellent. And, if we're being honest, Trent is an older gentleman. So there's not like a ton of longevity with him. Hopefully he he plays things right and kind of ends up in a trainer's role or whatever and gets a job for life, I'd be happy for him. And I thought Dennis was a good ruthless heel, but yeah, I thought that the old Splash Mountain 7 Bridge Razor's Edge over the top to the floor to kill a young lad. I mean, a little over the top for the opener, and a feud that really didn't have that much heat to it.
And again, that felt like it was a blow for the one and done match. I don't see if they're going to come back to this. Where they go next with Eddie and Trent, who knows? I think, for me, the fact that the opening match had a fairly high body count. One of the arena stewards, sat pretty much his head right back to those dashboards. First few minutes, that dive from Trent. I don't know if he's fine. He certainly looked a bit shook up, holding back of his head for a while. But yeah, it just felt like, for 8 minutes they did a lot. But it was a match that really didn't fit the feud, and I'm saying that in a good way rather than a Triple H Randy Orton let's start for lock-up and wrist lock kind of thing,
Fair enough. So, good news is things picked up here. We had the NXT UK Women's Championship match. I remember in the preview, this was one we were both a bit torn on. Weren't quite sure results-wise or what we might get quality-wise coming off of Kaylee Ray and Tony's rough match, and the fact that Piper hadn't really been pushed super strongly. So, but Kaylee Ray ended up retaining here at 13:25 via pin. And I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really good. Lots of action throughout. Good pin breakups, good drama. Some great near falls down the stretch. The crowd was really great for it. And I thought they did a nice job of playing off of the established former friendship stuff well. And I thought Tom and Nigel actually did a very nice job on commentary selling that throughout.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I think was Tom brought this up and Nigel may have parroted it. They started going through the nickname of the Glaswegian Sabu for Kaylee Ray, which, she's had a few nicknames. Hardcore Daredevil, I think, has been the main one she's had stick with her. Throughout the match, she definitely lived up to that. I mean, behind the curtain, I'm watching this at home upstairs in like a mini office kind of place. My wife doesn't watch wrestling unless it's live in the arena. And was that senton bomb from Kaylee Ray to the outside where her leg clipped the side of the dashboard. I screamed so loud my wife rushed up to think that I'd fallen over or hurt myself. It's like, for me to make that kind of reaction on TV wrestling is one thing. They did a lot. They went that, I dare say, called the trope, multi-way match. Well, it's automatically no DQ. They got the plunger and what have you. And again, it was a really good match. They did kind of lose the crowd a bit in the middle mind. And I don't know if it's because, they did the dives to the outside and, the crowd would, kind of, she nearly killed herself, she nearly broke her leg, that kind of stuff. Got back going, crowd got injured by the end. And I think, we were saying last week the best result may be Kaylee Ray winning. Sure enough, that's what happened. The one thing I would say from the start, Piper Niven, storyline, she hurt her back very early on with that cannonball into the ring steps. And I guess that's a nice little touch because, Toni Storm obviously was on NXT this week. Kaylee Ray as champion, I don't see her going anywhere. And I think you've kept that little shred of doubt in the back of the mind of if Piper didn't do that early on and her back was 100% throughout, would the result have changed? I mean, obviously, I'm presuming Tony getting called up or being moved out of the title picture. Because if you look in that women's division, take Tony and Piper out, there ain't that much depth. I mean, God love her, Killer Kelly ain't anywhere near a title shot.
Christ, she can't even pick up a win. Yeah, she's...
Well, she did it Eve yesterday, but unfortunately that's an entirely different universe.
It doesn't count in the official rankings according to the AEW analog, so...
Well, might make that a little sidebar one week,
Yeah, definitely. You take them out, and the division is a bit bare. So, but I do really like Kaylee Ray retaining, and I do think the eventual singles feud with Piper Niven makes a lot of sense. I thought that's where they were going to go after Kaylee Ray defeated Toni Storm the first time. But yeah, this does kind of feel like a good exit point for Toni Storm, and she's going to face Rhea Ripley at the Worlds Collide show, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and again, it's weird, same as for a brand that's been around officially about 18 months. But Toni Storm's kind of done everything, and this is kind of the issue I think a lot of people have with NXT UK as a whole, is that you've had a lot of people come in with the cachet, for want of a better word, of what they've done on the indies, mainly Progress, but other promotions as well. And if you've come in, Toni Storm came in hot as the top babyface, she went straight into the title program, lost to Rhea Ripley, won the belt, now lost the belt. It's like, especially when you're in this 1 hour week, kind of like early day TNA territory, your only options really are you get cycled out for a spell, which I'm sorry that ain't happening, or you move on. It's there's something we're going to be seeing a lot. I feel. I mean, sort of Pete Dunne. And okay, a lot of people tagged Pete as being the one guy out of roster who would be promoted straight away. But yeah, I think. No, they're not taping TV again until next weekend. I know they taped some pre-show. Actually, may as well bring this up now. Spoilers for anyone who, for two people who watch NXT UK every week. Hi, Joel. Sorry. But pre-shows obviously didn't make air. Your best man, Joe Connors, and A-Kid. I mean, the big storyline going in, obviously Joe Connors doing the whole I'm takeover wherever, well, he didn't make it on the car, so clearly not yet. But I mean, A-Kid's got signed. I mean, again, my well-worn tin hat, people suspecting he was signed to frustrate other promotions. And he was tagged by Tyler Bate as being one to watch, and he's losing on the NXT UK pre-show. Like, what the actual fuck, guys?
Yeah, that's not a good look, and I definitely am in the field of he got signed to take him away from other places. That's just obvious to me. I mean, he deserves to get signed. Don't get me wrong; he's extremely talented, but I mean, they're not going to do fuck all with him for how long? Look how long it took Jordan Devlin to finally get a feature match on a takeover.
Well, advertised feature match, obviously. Travis Banks on the show a year ago, and then it became, Jordan and Finn Balor, which, it was a good moment, guys, but didn't mean anything. I think of a pre-show match, Dave Mastiff and Cassius Ohno. Mastiff won, so I guess, for hometown, the originals win both matches. Yay. But, yeah, I mean, Ohno, Mastiff, don't want to say I couldn't care less. I kind of want to see how they got around Ono losing, because you bring him in this big push of the wrestling genius. I'm not going to throw strikes. I'm going to wrestle. It's a bit too soon to go back to the maybe I do need to knock mothers for fuck out, that kind of stuff. But yeah, the A-Kid stuff, to me, it did feel like maybe signed a bit too young. I mean, Christ, in terms of promotions working. The only place I believe he's a regular in was Rev Pro. Progress were barely using him. Other promotions in the UK, the most they were using were in tags with Carlos Romo, who sadly, at least in Rev Pro, has been left floundering on a losing streak gimmick. It's like, to me, that just felt like signing to frustrate. We've seen, obviously, this compared to TakeOver in 2019, next to no development in terms of wrestlers or characters. And I guess that's a decent seg into the next match, which was kind of built on the guy who won the tournament there 3 years ago, and the guy who's maybe had the most development since in the 3 years. Asterisk, he's also a guy who's done a lot of indie dates outside of WWE, but let's not speak on that. Tyler Bate, Jordan Devlin.
Yeah, real quick before we hit that, I do want to go back to Toni Storm, and I've brought this up before, but I think it's really fascinating that, Toni came in with a lot of hype. Obviously, she's very good. She has a fantastic look. I mean, she looks like a star. But for whatever reason, everything hasn't really clicked really well for her. And we're in a point now that we're into 2020, and, I know a lot of people don't like this, but, you kind of have to look at the fact that, Rhea Ripley came pretty much out of nowhere, changed her character and everything, and has kind of lapped Toni at this point.
Absolutely.
In terms of becoming a star. And
again, you do have to think, Rhea did Largo Loop for a little bit, but her first prominence outside of the Mae Young Classics was NXT UK. She was the featured heel from week one, and in terms of promo, she kind of nailed it. And I think the one thing that a lot of people dog Tony on is her promos. Now, not far be it from me to comment on concise promos. Christ, I stumble enough as it is. But that's the kind of thing. This is a star business. I mean, it's not NWA where it's 2-minute matches and 5-minute promos. But if you can't talk, that's going to be a big millstone around your neck.
Yeah. And I love the fact that Rhea, because a lot of people are like, well, why are they sending her to the UK and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, they saw her as someone with potential to be a star. They didn't have room for her on NXT proper. She got a great run there, as you said, from week one as the top female heel. And that was really great for her maturation process. And it's paid off now because she has turned into a star for NXT. And I'm not saying that Tony's done or anything, but it's really interesting the fact that everybody had Tony pegged for something really big and with good reason. And again, for whatever reason, it just really hasn't clicked yet. And then here's Rhea, and it's like, hey, I'm here, I'm good, and I find it really interesting. So that brings us, as you said, to Tyler Bate and Jordan Devlin.
Yep.
And I will let you go first real quick. Tyler Bate defeated Jordan Devlin 22-40 via pin.
Yep. So, the big thing going into this, whether you watched Prime Target or all the stuff, building shows going in, this was everyone being pegged as match for night. William Regal, one of the few guys still using paper and pen, tagged this as, you can throw your sheets away. This is match for night, blah, blah, blah. It was match for night, but that to me kind of speaks more about the rest of the card. But I think in terms of the match, it lived up to expectations, but my God, if they had put more hype on this, it may well have underwhelmed. I mean, a lot of this for me was Tyler Bate largely going to his greatest hits. He did, the long airplane spin. He did bop bang all his usual stuff. But compare that with Jordan Devlin, who was throwing in some new stuff, doing the boxing. He kept going for Devlin's side, but he was doing it in subtly different ways. It's like, to me, Tyler won. In my mind, I would obviously say the wrong person won. But I think this match kind of showed, if you looked, peeled behind the first lane result, if this is kind of shown maybe Tyler Bate in terms of, I don't say moveset, but in terms of his arsenal in matches, maybe stalling a little bit, whereas Devlin, who is doing a lot more stuff in the indies, is progressing, and I would dare say at this rate, give it another 6-12 months, may well overtake Tyler.
No, I think that's a fair assessment. We've talked about how good Jordan Devlin is, and the fact is he hasn't really gotten to show it because, as far as NXT UK goes, because yeah, he's on TV. He always works good matches on TV. He always looks like a star on TV. But he didn't have that outlet to finally be featured, and he finally got it here. And I was so glad for that because, I love this match. I thought it was excellent. When you compare this to everything else on the card, for me, and your point with Tyler is fair, but I also think overall, though, that the work felt really clean and effortless, and in terms of comparing it to the rest of the card, execution was just so much better than everything else on the card.
Absolutely. Like I say, everything was crisp. You had a lot of sweet transitions, into destroyers. The only thing for me that maybe looked a bit iffy, I think was right at the end, was the half Spanish fly on the top rope. That switcheroo seemed a little bit contrived if you want to be very nitpicky. Christ, it's the internet, so who isn't? But yeah, if you're picking apart, them shuffling on the top rope for Spanish Fly, then it's a great match. And going about the matches that these guys had, so again, good friend at Cage match. So NXT UK kind of started in June 2018, when we did the UK tournament thing. The match tonight was Tyler Bates' 100th since then. Devlin's not had that many more, but if you look at where they've had the matches, Bate, and I'm scrolling down the list here, has been a lot of WWE NXT things. a few Progress logos, but majority of his stuff has been in the WWE system, whereas Devlin, I was just rattling names off, obviously OTT, his home promotion until recently, Fight Club Pro, TNT in Liverpool, going back a lot more, Fight Club Pro, Fight Factory Pro Wrestling, sort of home promotion Ireland, Dragon Pro in Wales, North in Newcastle. North is a tiny promotion. Like, they get maybe a couple hundred fans a month. So for him to work that kind of show as a WWE superstar is, kind of saying what they thought from at that point. But yeah, just for sheer range of promotions, it's not just been, the WWE, NXT UK TV or what have you. So to me, maybe it's that ability of still being able to travel and be almost an indie star without being, without having the safety of a contract that's helping Jordan. I would kind of like to see that even in defeat, Devlin carries on, but I do have a nasty feeling that when we look at the spoilers this time next week out of York, I have got a nasty feeling Devlin is going to be, mid-card for the foreseeable anyway.
Yeah, which will really be a shame because I thought he was obviously very great here, and I agree in a way too that it kind of felt like he should have won here because I really think that it doesn't feel like they're going to really do much with Bate. I mean, I guess theoretically they could heat him back up for a rematch with Walter, which I wouldn't argue with, but I also think that they're kind of continuing to undermine Devlin because I think there's so much more they can do with the guy. And he obviously stepped up here and proved it. So, I mean, I don't know. I just...
we said earlier about, Pete Dunne and Tony Storm. Tyler was the first UK champion. He lost it. There's no secondary belt here. Mustache Mountain, they're keeping those guys apart as a regular thing. What do you do with Tyler Bate if he's not in the championship picture? The flip side of that is, they're doing a biannual takeover, so the next one will be in August. Tyler Bate back against Walter in August. I mean, we kind of make a joke tongue-in-cheek about how this is the same guys, just a bit shuffled up. Christ, if they do Bate Walter 2 in August, yeah, it'd be a good match. But that is going to really shine a light on, what development isn't going on.
Yeah, the overall lack of growth is something that has been very disappointing. And again, because it's like, we keep bragging on it. I mean, there's a lot of talent there, but it just feels like everybody has a role, and this is the role you're going to stay in, and that's all you're going to be.
Yeah, no one shuffles up, nobody shuffles down. I think the only guy who took time off was Ligero, and I think that may have been with injury as well. So it's like, and even then, Ligero took time off. All they did, wasn't like he was mid-card and somebody else stepped up in his place. It was just, we do 50-50 for a while. He comes back. One thing I will say about this match at the end, we had Triple H, Johnny Saint, William Regal applauding from one of the boxes or the balcony, I guess, in the Empress Ballroom. That was kind of a callback to that first UK tournament moment. The photo that WWE.com unfortunately edited with Tyler celebrating and that nice banner which made it look like he was naked and Finney was dick-shaming him. But, yeah, I mean, to me it just felt like, whether it's heating Tyler up, obviously we need to know what the next chapter of the story is, but, you've done everything with Tyler short of the tag title. Well, he's had the big boys NXT tag title, so why have UK belts? But to me, it feels like Tyler Bates, a guy who he's done everything very quickly. So you either go the second go round or he's just spinning his wheels. And I think going second go round, I think we mentioned in the past, should not be on a takeover. It needs to be on some kind of like what Specials Impact do. A special episode of a TV show, build up to that rather than we just wait and have a couple of months then in June, July, start warming them up for takeover. But yeah, I think Tyler Bate will be another one maybe best served making the trip to Full Sail permanently.
See, I thought, and I agree, because I thought he was going to lose here, and that was going to happen. But, I mean, yeah, him picking up the win surprised me, really. But, I mean, hell of a match, easily the best thing on the card. And, Yeah, just slightly questionable booking, because I'm not sure what they're going to do with either of these guys. And maybe we will find out when they tape TV, or they're just going to be a couple of dudes hanging around.
Well, see, I mean, no, there's no takeovers for 6 months, so there'll be a lot of wheel spinning TV shows for a while.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they fit in another Worlds Collide at some point and do some stuff with these guys, but who knows?
WrestleMania weekend, perhaps, but yeah. But we spoke about the Big Boys tag titles. I guess next up, the ladder match for the NXT UK tag belts. And I would say Flash Morgan Webster, your ladder climbing for Jim paid off. You didn't do the goddamn slow ladder climb that every other wrestler does, but this was a stunt show and a half.
Definitely, yeah. Gallus retained the titles over Imperium, South Wales Subculture, and the Grizzly Young Veterans. 23-55. I think I like this one a little bit more than you. I think we got the wrong winners here. I did not see the purpose in Gallus retaining. Really thought it should have been Imperium heading into Worlds Collide. And I thought they delivered on the stipulation. I thought it was a lot of fun. Definitely a stunt show at times, but just really enjoyable. And for me, I thought it was better than I thought it was going to be, because as we talked in the preview, James Drake and Zach Gibson aren't exactly big high spot wrestlers. James Drake does some cool stuff, but they're not big high spot guys. Imperium Eichner does some cool stuff, but they're not, high flying guys and stuff. Guys you would expect to thrive in a ladder match. Gallus certainly isn't. Wolfgang does some decent stuff at times, but it was pretty much like we were leaving it up to Mark and Flash for a lot of stuff. But I like this a lot. I thought it was pretty great, actually. Not on the level of Bate and Devlin, obviously, but really enjoyed it. But thought we had the wrong winners for sure. It's just, I don't know. The best thing about Gallus is their theme music. It's like slightly low key banger music, and I like it. But then they get in the ring, and I'm like,
And then the bell rings. I think the problem I had with this was twofold. 3 heel teams and 3 teams, those same 3 teams, obviously because they're heels and this how they should be doing it, guys are you watching, are very much ground based. The problem you had was with that, you only had Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews to do the flashy stuff at the best of times. And to me, that I don't want to say it wore thin, but you can only do that for so long. I mean, a couple of years back, Flash Morgan had shoulder surgery. Remember back to the Cruiserweight Classic, he had a qualifier with Zack Sabre Jr. and he completely screwed up his shoulder and ankle. And he's had a few shoulder problems as well. And again, it was 1 point mismatch. Things fairly late on, top of the ladder, they tipped over. He went over top rope, flipped and landed on the floor.
Yeah, he took the old Christian bump, man.
Yeah, and for a guy who's had surgically reconstructed shoulder, you don't want to be taking any of those. But they brought it. The one thing in this that made me lose my mind, Mark Andrews, there's a few spots in wrestling I hate, and we'll touch on one in the main event, is in ladder matches, you're unopposed. You've got a guy who's in perfect position to take a bump. Why do like a shooting star press or anything when all you need to do is take 3 steps and you win the match? And it's that kind of dumb babyface thing, which for me, yeah, you got the crowd to cheer for you, you lost. And at the end of the day, that kind of stuff just makes, kind of loses credibility a little bit. If all you do is your flips in your high spots and you don't care about winning, well, why should I care about you as a babyface? But I mean, aside from that, Christ, a lot of stuff for the ladders. It did get a little bit plunderific, like they brought out chairs early on, tables came out, and I know Matthews got that spot already good to go. Brit Rares for tables either don't break or they have the same weight as paper mache. Unfortunately for Mark Coffey, his just completely caved the second he breathed on that thing. But that side-by-side sentinel of a ladder, I legitimately thought at least Mark had hurt himself from that impact, just the way they were not selling, was just you had the the shuddering on the impact and the spinal tingling. It means you can do that once or twice, but especially after a spot like that, that's almost taken me out of the match. But mean, they did really well. I think it was a bit in the middle before they brought out the tables, the supersized ladders, the kendo stick. They did lose the crowd a little bit, and I think a lot of that was down to 3 grounded heel teams and 1 flying babyface team who could only do so much without being killed.
Yeah, and again, again, I'm not trying to shit all over Gallus because they're far from horrible, but they're just, to me, they're fine. And I don't know. Again, I thought it made no sense for them to win because you were building up Imperium versus Undisputed Era for this Worlds Collide special. And the optics, I think, look way better if Imperium comes in with all the NXT UK gold and they're facing off with Undisputed Era, who has all the NXT US gold. It just makes sense because if no titles are on the line. I just think it makes the match a little bit bigger. And then we're keeping the titles on Gallus for reasons.
I mean, I kind of see that mindset, Larry. I mean, what you don't want is when you're doing this big brand supremacy bullshit thing. I mean, first step, Survivor Series was, 2 months ago. Who really cares about brand supremacy then? Let alone, it's NXT Wednesday v NXT Thursday. And to me, we touched on last time, it's in a big arena. I am kind of scared of how that's going to look, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, I think it was smart not to have all the belts in one match. You're doing Undisputed Era against Imperium. It's maybe a good thing you don't have every single title belt for men locked up in one match. The downside is Gallus, they have put for a lot of people's jokes. And again, they did the feud where in all this, they had the 3 of the main tag teams have a fight to stake a claim to be tag team champions. The belts weren't held up, but they were taken off them for this. And now you've beaten 3, tag teams 2, 3, and 4 quite handily. Well, what's the next feud? The Hunt? Pretty Deadly?
Ashton Smith and Oliver Carter. No, I mean, I say that jokingly. I seriously have no clue. And that, that kind of does expose the NXT UK tag ranks, because outside of these top 4 teams, it's like you really don't have anybody ready. The Hunt are a fun little team. It's not that I dislike them, but they're not in position to be viable challengers. Pretty Deadly have looked good in their limited appearances, but they've been a job team. Are they going to bring back Dorian Mack and Riddick Moss?
Oh, fuck no. I hope not.
I know.
But again, the problem is, and it all boils back down to the lack of development. You've cycled through the Grizzled Young Veterans, South Wales subculture, which are called that everywhere, apart from in the introductions, I notice. Imperium lately. It's like, well, okay, they've not been beaten like a drum, but they've all lost pretty convincingly a massive tag team ladder match. You can't exactly go back to any of those teams next. And no, I'm not saying, Worlds Collide, have, Fish and O'Reilly against, again, it shows you Gallus, I've just seen the show and their names bypassing Mark Coffey and Wolfgang. It's like, that's fine, but you can't have that and go back to, Gallus against teams 2 or 3 or 4, because to me, it just, I don't know, beyond those top 4, there is nothing, unless you go the New Japan route of, Tyler Bate and Jordan Devlin, or do you reform Mustache Mountain, and even then, reform Mustache Mountain against Gallus. I don't think we've had that, but I don't know how many people are clamoring for that either.
Yeah, in theory, you can always go back to Mustache Mountain because they've never won the titles, but it also feels like it'd be kind of a step back for Tyler Bate, so I don't know.
I'm just checking. In terms of their history, Mustache Mountain and Gallus only had one match way back when, November 2018, when they did the tag title tournament. So, yeah, we may be knocking, it's the phrase everyone's using to death and it's boring everyone, but that may be a forbidden door we are actually opening.
There you go. We could see that. So, and that leads us to our main event of the evening. NXT UK champion Walter defending against Joe Coffey. And we talked about lack of development. We're a year on officially to the date of Joe Coffey being a main event player in NXT UK. And I talked about this in the preview. Joe Coffey is far from a bad wrestler. He's fine. But nobody buys him as a top star. And this match was weird because technically they're both heels. But everybody kind of likes Walter because he's awesome. And then Joe Coffey comes out to like the Charlie Haas pop. Like nobody cared.
Yeah, I mean, Prime Talk did after we recorded last week, and the big thing they tried to do, I mean, we didn't touch upon this much, but Sean Ryan, he's an absolute master. He turned, for most of his card, chicken shit into a gourmet chicken salad, let's be honest. But the big thing they had for this match was Joe Coffey being very, I don't want to say out of his mind, but very much focused on righting the wrong from last year. He had the match with Pete Dunne. I guess we can end the joke now that match is still going on. But that match last year, I didn't think that highly of it. This year, a little bit better. But yeah, it just felt like his whole reason for getting this match was, I didn't do as well as I wanted to last year. I then got overshadowed. And here we are with Walter and Joe Coffey this year. My big fear is, obviously, it was a big angle at the end, which we'll talk about afterwards. But Joe Coffey lost again this year. He got overshadowed again. If Joe Coffey went off the rails last year because of this, he's going to turn into Frank Grimes in 2021. And God forbid if NXT UK brings in I don't even know what you'd call it, like a secondary belt, and Joseph Connors wins it. I can imagine. I don't need to win a title because I'm Joe Coffey. That kind of stuff. It just feels like the story they told to make him babyface, one, did not work. Like, say, the Charlie Haas pop. Nobody connected. The fact that, okay, the crowd is maybe going about more out of charity than genuine feeling from people I know who are in the crowd. But the fact that you had Walter come in a year ago, this big monster heel, he was trying to be a monster heel, but this big monster superstar who, at the time, he was had the run as Progress champion. He was a big name over in WXW. He had that aura around him, and the space for a year, he's got he had a brief spell. Survivor Series, and literally brief spell. Was it 3 minutes? He got pinned in that match, and now he's leading a heel stable, and you have to have all the heel stable tropes. A guy who's not been on the show comes out to help, and then a guy from the other team comes out to help. And it's like, I don't know. Others have said this, and I don't think it's been a hit like others have suggested on other wrestlers, but Walter going from this big monster star a year ago to, the latest guy in the WWE cookie cutter, at least in this presentation, that's something, man. It's like, don't get me wrong, Walter's not being diminished. He's not, he's not coming out to crickets, but he, compared to 12 months ago, how do you do that?
I completely agree. And real quick, Walter defeated Joe Coffey 27 minutes and 40 seconds via submission. I'm echoing everything you said, man. I absolutely fucking hated the booking of Walter here. Seeing him diminished and being booked as every cliche heel stable leader ever that needs help from his little geek squad, and he gets visually pinned after a bullshit ref bump, is so lazy. I am sick of bullshit in wrestling overall. I hate it in New Japan. I hate it here. I hate it everywhere. It's just so lazy. Can't we try to do something different? And I think that booking like this it doesn't kill Walter, but for me it kills what's special about him.
Yeah.
That aura. This match had really good elements of a big man battle. And they did have a story here. But it was overbooked. I thought it went too long. And for me, it again proved that Joe Coffey is not a main event guy.
No.
He's just not. He's fine. Him and Gallus are fine. And for me, this was like the least enjoyable Walter match I can think of in forever. I never got into it. It wasn't bad. It was fine.
I mean, let's be real. Even though Gallus retained early in the night, there was absolutely no way Walter was losing. No, it was just the way Joe had been presented in the build-up. Like, there's no... Like, take Walter aside. Who's the top heel in NXT UK? No, were they going to... No, assume Joe Coffey won. The obvious thing would have been a rematch, unless... Alexander Wolf, God love him, he's not... No title status. And then after that, who's the next big heel? Eddie Dennis? And to me, it just feels like you have... again, you've got the same hour a week, but everyone is in their place. You don't move out of your box, for better or for worse. And what means you have stuff like this. You have stuff like this where I don't say it's predictable, but it certainly doesn't exactly help in terms of what's the word? It certainly doesn't help in terms of where they're going to go. Like this match results afterwards, unless you lean into we'll get someone from NXT and make part of Worlds Collide. Really, from this, was the only winner could have been Walter. There was nobody else to even do the wheel spinning TV episodes. But I mean, Joe Coffey. I mean, I'm looking at his history. Bear in mind, he's been going for over a decade, so it's not like he's some newbie, not trained. Oh, it's not not seasoned. And the only place, like, he's had three big title runs in ICW, although that being said, sorry, 2 runs in ICW's with their world title. One was a same day job. The other he had for shade over 6 months. Grant Vowers had the spell when they were doing the big shows from Hydro in Glasgow. But the fact that his big company tenure is 6 months with ICW and literally nowhere else. Like, Progress booked him. I mean, when I started going to Progress shows in 2017, I think it was, they were bringing up their Atlas to him, to the big lads, the opposite of cruiserweights. And they did this round robin gimmick. He was booked to that. He made it for final. They never used him again after that. It was like, Progress at the time were the peak of Brit-Res. They booked the big names. They didn't have any of this. Again, Tin Hat time, they didn't book Joe Coffey out of charity, for instance. Joe Connors out of charity. But when you've got like Joe Coffey, and I'm looking here, February, April, June, August, September 2016, October 2016, title contention shot in November 2016, a match a year later against Doug Williams, just because, and then his last match at Progress was just over 2 years ago, losing to Jack Sexsmith, who, I think playing like almost like a Spike Dudley kind of visual with the size difference. So you've got a guy who, Progress isn't NXT UK or even NXT UK Light, but they have been known to, hey, let's bring this guy in, try him out, with like Joe Connors. The fact that Joe Coffey was in Progress until 2017 and never since, that kind of tells you at least, what some people look at is his level. And the fact that he's now been in 2 of the 3 takeover main events, 4 title shots, like, I don't know. Someone sees something in him. And like, he's not a bad guy. He's just not main event caliber. And the fact that he's been put in main events this often, and let's be honest, Gallus have the tag titles, they're not going away overnight. he's not going to be too far away from the main events for foreseeable anyway.
And again, that's a shame because we're into that wheel spinning territory. It's like, and again, I don't want anybody to think like, I don't think he and Gallus are horrible. Okay, I liked the ladder match a lot. I liked that 3-way tag they did a while back. You know, it's like they've done some good stuff, but like sometimes, you know, people need to stay in their lane, and WWE needs to realize here that you know, Joe Coffey, when you look at this roster, I mean, there's so many guys I would put ahead of him without even thinking twice about it. He's fine. He's a good guy you could heat up for a title match on TV. He's not the guy to be headlining 2 of your 3 takeovers.
No. And again, no, there's, you know, you always have these conspiracies or these theories or what have you. The big assumption, I guess you'd call it, you've got a lot of people who book and produce Progress who are involved in NXT UK. When NXT UK started being a thing, British Strong Style was the big heel group in Progress, Pete, Tyler and Trent. And they're not doing the same stuff, but you have your, I guess now, lead babyface faction. It's Scottish Strong Style, for a better word. Except the difference is Pete, Tyler and Trent all can go in the ring at a main event-ish level. I haven't seen that from many of British Strong, from Gallus at this point. And we are 18 months into NXT UK having weekly TV. Do you pull the plug on Gallus? Well, you can't, because who's there to replace them? But again, you saw last year Joe Coffey was overshadowed in defeat, and lightning struck twice this year.
That's right, because afterwards Imperium was all happy and celebrating, and the Undisputed Era arrived, and they beat the shit out of them. They laid out Walter, and they stood tall, and just to rub it into everybody's face, the UK crowd turned on their own and loved the Undisputed Era because they wanted to see stars.
Well, I mean, people had to go meet this, like, yeah, sure, the crowd are going to cheer for British Strong, for Undisputed Era because they are big stars. Great. Why have them on this show? I get why, because you got Worlds Collide in 2 weeks. But man, call an audible, do something, tape something with us after show, or even better, go for, you had your cliche of the bug in the corner, copyright 2020 World Wrestling Entertainment Inc. Fade to black, then do the beat down for the, in front of the live crowd and air that to start TV next week. Because to me, all that did was show, this aired at 5 p.m. Sunday tea time UK, noon Sunday in the States, or 9 a.m. for those sods in Seattle and the West Coast who got up early for this, for one of you. But it's like, going off the air, we've seen a decent lukewarmish crowd, then suddenly erupting because Undisputed Era came out. What optics does that give you for NXT UK? But, the brand that we built for you, by you. Wait, I swear that's not a promotion. But, for you, by you. And, the second, one of the bigger boys comes out, they lose their shit. That doesn't tell me, that doesn't exactly inspire much confidence in me. It's like, again, a lot of masters to serve, but yeah, the thing I remember going off the air is not Walter got beaten by Undisputed Era of a mugging, because when you've got when your backup is a guy with 2 guys with ice packs taped to their tracksuit jackets, for crying out loud, you haven't got backup. But 2 things I guess from that. One, nobody else in NXT UK cares about the brand because she wasn't a hell of a lot of help from them.
Apparently not. There is no brand alliance. It's not like when Raw and SmackDown feeds every year, they don't magically become friends. They were like, fuck Walter. Let him die.
Maybe they were too busy putting out the NXT UK t-shirts. Oh shit, guys, we've got some of these in the back. Where are they? We can't go out here without our NXT UK t-shirts. How will they know which brand we represent? Well, you've got a beard, they'll know.
I don't know, dude, because you look at the main roster and you have Roman, Seth, and Elias, who you could all mistake for a brother, each other's brother. So it's Yeah, the beard thing is just everywhere, and then you got like the Forgotten Sons who are just like, well, they're horrible, but they pretty much all look alike. So
Yeah, I mean, you could probably, oh god, NXT beard,
there
there's
you
your
go.
next big roster. Not sponsored by Gillette for the obvious reason, but actually, while we're touching on, I would say dumb baby face, but one thing about main event that did irk me, and you get this in all the big matches, so it's not just a Walter or Joe Coffey thing. Wrestlers see everything that goes on in the match. Like, if you're in the ring, and there's a ref bump with what's his name, Chris Sharp, shotgun drop kick from Walter, wiped out the ref. You see the ref is down, maybe not even in the ring. Why do guys hit their finish and go for cover? Go, oh no, I would have won. Where's the referee? It's like, and it's even worse when you're the guy who fucking did the move to them. But in this case, Joe Coffey did the powerbomb visual pin, which is a lot more than some guys who Walter's had long-term feuds with ever had. David Starr. But it's like, to me, it's like you've done this. So somewhere and someone on some level wants to subconsciously tell us Joe Coffey is the same level as Walter. He would have beaten him had Walter not killed the ref. Yeah, that is what they want us to believe.
I know that's what they want us to believe, but Jesus Christ. No.
And that scares me because it's no, they've put that seed in. We're getting this match again, Larry.
Oh, I know we are. Yeah,
and that scares the holy shit out of me because this match wasn't bad. It was not a main event. I mean, you look 6 months ago, Cardiff, Tyler Bate, Walter was your main event. This was chalk and cheese.
Yeah, I mean, Walter and Tyler Bate, depending on who you talk to, was either the match of the year or in that top 5. And then you go from that to this. And I just, again, the whole thing with me is like the presentation of Walter, man. He does not need help. We don't need all this bullshit. He doesn't need his buddies coming in. Just, you had a guy that had a vibe around him that people bought as a legit ass-kicking beast. Just let him be that. Because if he is that, whenever he does lose, whoever it's gonna be, to me, that comes off so much bigger. Because then you've slain the beast.
Yeah.
I don't need the beast looking weak for fucking Joe Coffey.
I think the problem with Walter Scott, I mean, we spoke earlier about how Jordan Devlin's working all the indies. The problem that we've got now with Walter is they had the big star and every single part of WWE had to have him. Like, he debuted obviously this time last year, but I'm looking the last few months. He did NXT, the Largo Loop. He did Evolve. I mean, I know David Starr got blocked by Gabe for the whole, pay your worker stuff, and I wholeheartedly agree on that. Like, looking at this now, Walter has done 4 Evolve matches in the last, from late September to start of December. 4 Evolve matches.
And had his championship stolen.
Well, that's why Timothy Thatcher wrestled in MMA shorts a few weeks back. But yeah, 4 matches in Evolve in just a shade over 2 months. Now I'm comparing that now to his NXT UK run for that same time period. Walter has wrestled more for Gabe Sapolsky's propped up indie fed than he has the brand he supposedly is champion of. He did the 4-on-4 wild tag week after Survivor Series, and then tonight he's wrestled more for Gabe than he has NXT UK. What's that saying? No, that's not. We don't want to overexpose our champion, which I get, but it's like Walter also should not be the guy that Gabe Sapolsky wheels in to prop up Evolve ticket sales. In the same time frame, he did the Raw tapings when in the UK. Fair enough. He did the house show in Vienna that was on the Prime Target special. That's fair enough. Waltz from Austria. That's a nice bucket list thing to tick off. No problem there. He did Big Japan, that tag match with Daisuke Sekimoto, Yuji Hino, and Yuji Okabayashi, which was fantastic. I was a favourite to Daisuke, which, if you read the tea leaves, maybe sign of NXT Japan at some point. But again, I didn't know this when I saw this. You go back from say September to now, even go back to September to today, so 3 months pretty much. In terms of promotions he's worked for, twice for NXT UK. He's worked more for WXW, a promotion he's not even full-time with anymore, than he has the brand he's carrying the fucking belt with. I was like, even if you just put him on TV once, in my usual cycle once a month, have him squash Jack Stars again. Have him squash, I don't know, Saxton Huxley. Have him squash anyone. If you want to wrap up with Joe Connors thing, have him, do a match with Joe Connors, completely obliterate him. You're not worthy, then repackage again. I don't know. But to me, if you've brought a guy in to be the flagship of your brand, you also should not be spreading him across so thin that fucking Evolve his promotion he's appeared for more than the brand he was signed to in the first place.
Yeah, it seems ridiculous when you break it down like that because, again, I don't want them to completely overexpose him and just do a bunch of bullshit on TV where it's not special. But yeah, I mean, wheel the guy out occasionally. Like you said, just let him murder some geeks. Maybe you find a geek that has some kind of allegiance or relationship to the next guy that's going to challenge him. Let Walter murder this dude on TV and then set up his next challenger through that. Do something. Give me something with him. He's there, but he's not.
I mean, you had this whole run, it still goes on, but does not to the extent of wheeling in, like, local trainees, like the last... there's been so much NXT UK, I forget, but Roy Johnson did things for the Essex tapings a few weeks back. Best perfect guy, in terms of, is he a future star? Well, depending who you ask, maybe, probably not. Bring him on, be the tackling dummy. I'm not saying you have to be 10 minutes, 4 or 5 star sprint, but get your hope spots in, try, and even if all pivoted around, you tried to shop Walter, bad idea, thwack, powerbomb, 1, 2, 3. Even if it's just like the classic what we used to do with Yokozuna back in the day, where he was barely in there, but by God, you knew he was on TV more than just, he's a big guy with a belt and a tracksuit.
It'd be nice, but I guess that's just not in the plans right now because, I don't know, I think he could be presented a lot better, and again, not a fan of this main event booking at all.
But, I mean, again, I think, it almost feels like this, sounds like we're down on the end of this. NXT UK Takeover Blackpool II, stupid long name, but who cares these days? Good show. Problem is, we are in an era now where good isn't good enough. Like, unless you watch this live, you can have a lot of people who are going to, through word of mouth, whether it's, my review, your review, social media stuff. A lot of people, if they had no intention of watching this, they'll go back and catch Spade and Devlin, undoubtedly. Maybe they'll add a match. The rest, I think that's the problem. If you just watch NXT UK through cherry picking, of course it's going to be good. Like if I have a Hawaiian pizza and pick for pineapple off, it's good. Doesn't mean the Hawaiian pizza itself's good. And it's just that whole thing of you've got to look at the product as a whole. And for headline stuff, absolutely great. But the problem is the bits underneath kind of drag it down. And to me, that's an absolute crying shame for the guys on this roster because the one thing I keep saying, the names they have signed have talent. These aren't bums who, straight out of training school and you're throwing them against each other on worldwide TV. These guys are talented. These guys are more than capable of building a scene. They did it for years before before WWE came calling. So it's like, to me, it's the presentation of those guys which is letting the side down. I mean, we saw throughout the first takeover you had was it Kaylee and Piper Niven at ringside, and that's been the long trope of NXT takeovers is we've signed somebody, let's parade them at ringside. Well, tonight, who were the guys at ringside? Travis Banks, who last I saw was doing draws of Ligero, and Ridge Holland, who I'll be upfront now, he should have been on this fucking card.
Dude, let me tell you, Ridge Holland is the stereotype of what every American thinks a British villain looks like.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you right now, that's the God's honest truth.
The first promo videos a lot of people took for piss because it looked like Coronation Street, the British soap opera.
Ah, okay.
The cobbled streets, all you were missing was the music. It's like, as a character, it's cartoony. I don't even think if you go to the how would you call it, like the live action role play museum kind of things, you're not going to see a guy who looks like him at balls. Like I said, they've taken an American's view of what he looks like, which I believe that character was one he developed on the Largo loop, and then they've gone, well, he's still very raw. I mean, I think we spoke last time, he used to play rugby league over in England, retired, and he was one of those guys, along with Sadie Gibbs, they wanted to sign, but this back when Trump got in, and they changed the visa rules, he had no experience, and they weren't about to sign a guy and get a visa for a guy who had no experience wrestling. So, the guy's real name is this one blank. Luke Menzies, yeah. He did a bunch of UK indies. Not anything big that to get tape. I think the highest profile he got was maybe a Rumble appearance or two for Defiant back before they shut down. But he had a brief title reign for a small company in the Northeast called 3CW. And he's working on fairly big name guys. I'm just going to check so I'm not getting names wrong here. So yeah, when he worked 3CW, he had their world title very briefly. But I mean, while he was working there, he was facing guys like Rampage Brown, who's got a held reputation over here in terms of being a good workhorse, a big heavyweight. Nathan Cruz, who, I'm just going off on a tangent. He was a guy who was meant to have been signed for the very first championship tournament, failed his medical, and as a worker, he's very solid. I really wish things went differently for him, because I'm not saying he's been main event here, but he'd been a good hand on these kind of shows. Going back to Ridge Holland, Nathan Cruz, Rampage Brown, Jørn Sims, if I was Defiant, but he was getting long matches in front of crowds which didn't give a toss about work rate. He was getting long matches in front of crowds who didn't care how good wrestling was, and that helped him. And then he gets signed. Was it? He dropped that 3CW belt May 2018. Finished up with Southside and other promotions, and then by the end of July 2018, he's doing the Largo loop. And I think, if I remember rightly, in terms of TV, he got 2 squash matches. Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, blinking under his real name. Then he disappeared and then got the new character. And to me, it's very easy to say, give him the Goldberg push, because at some point you need to go beyond the 3-minute squash. But this show ran just straight over 2 hours.
2.5 hours, tight show.
2.5 hours, 5 matches. Add another 10 minutes on. Give him a squash match. Don't have him sat there at ringside, because I looked on social media when he popped up. A number of people thought, is this guy real? What's a Ridge Holland? And it's like, you've got a couch like this. He looks different. People take the piss out of his name. Give him, put him in the ring. Let them take the piss out of his name while he's having to kill a match. Do the Goldberg to start with. But instead, he's just random guy at ringside. Someone they plucked from the warehouse in Enfield. And let's be honest. Takeovers are the most watched, or at least the shows the most buzz. I guarantee for a lot of people who watch Takeover tonight, probably won't be watching NXT UK for the foreseeable. So there's a big opportunity missed to grab people's attention with ridiculous name or otherwise, give them a match quickly and out. Okay, you sacrifice Jack Stars. Well,
that's what I was going to say. Exactly. Throw him in there with little Jack Stars, who's a good little worker and will take a great beating.
But again, it just felt like they have a template. They have the five show matches, and yeah, I don't know. It just, to me, it felt like this was very much template, cookie cutter stuff. They had the one big thing they had in the back pocket. Okay, you can understand not wanting to, blow your load early on him, but this is the biggest audience you're going to have for a while for this product. Put them in, 2-minute match, straight in, even if it's just straight in, boot, maybe take a, chop or a few kicks from Jack Stars or whoever, destroy him with that side slam, 1, 2, 3, okay, right, what's next? Oh, we've got Jordan Devlin, Tyler Bate, something like that, but yeah, whatever it will be, and I mean, yeah, it's probably going to be, TV in Hull next week, in York next week, which, if I remember rightly, he played rugby league for a team near there. Very briefly, one game for rugby league team in York in 2015. So there's no big connection there, but I would fully expect him to have the usual 2 matches on the tapings next weekend, and be back on wondering, if and when he does, push high up the card.
Yeah, so we will see what happens in the fallout. Overall, though, good show. I liked that it ran in a nice tight 2.5 hours. I think in this, we talk a lot in this era. A lot of shows go way too long for no reason, and if you go really long, you have to have a lot of great shit on those shows. I thought we had a really strong women's title match I enjoyed. I thought the ladder match was pretty great. We had a kind of low-end match of the year contender with Bate and Devlin, and the only thing that really soured me on the show and held it back from being, I think, great overall was that main event. It just didn't do it for me, and I just think you hurt Walter's presentation. I think that's really bad when you actually have something special like that. I don't think the run-ins or anything added to the match at all. The story didn't help the work at all. It was there because it's the same lazy cliche booking WWE's done forever now at this point.
Yeah, and again, it's the kind of thing you had the Ilya and Alexander Wolf stuff that was blown off a couple of weeks back. Did you need to go back to it again, even as a callback this soon? The only saving grace, they had Walter and Ilya had a brief exchange. I hope that's the big match down the road. Those two have had absolute bangers of matches. WXW Progress, plenty more times than WXW. We talk about the big thing in Walter's matches in NXT UK obviously is the chops, and what we'll say is those sounded absolutely sublime in that ballroom.
Definitely.
I've seen Walter and Ilya have matches where not a single chop's been thrown, and they've been 5-star classics. So, if you take the fact that those two have that kind of chemistry where you take Walter's biggest asset away from him, and they still knocked out of the park. If they can build to that and still keep Walter somewhat special and not be, comic book cartoon goofy lead of a gang, that could. I'm not saying this brand's anywhere near the toilet. Nowhere like that. That could be a match which opens a lot of eyes and gets a lot of the doubters and the critics back on board.
Yeah, and I really hope that they do build to that match because as you said, they have a great history against each other, and it would make sense coming out of this because he beat Wolf recently, and then you did have the brief exchange in here, and hopefully that is the direction.
Well, like I say, we'll have to see. The tape show on Thursday, will be the usual post-takeover recap stuff. 2 matches which, I kind of want to see how they get Joe Connors beating A-Kid, just from a personal standpoint. Ono and Dave Mastiff, takes to leave it. They've had matches before, but that was obviously a long way in the past. And then, this time next weekend, we'll know roughly what's been taped and what the rough direction will be. Big part of me, I will admit, just feels like it's going to be Imperium and Gallus, but one big thing to maybe throw a span in the works is they're taping stuff next week to air long after Worlds Collide has been a thing. So maybe the next set of tables will be wheel spinning, or maybe we'll keep Imperium away. I know we've done that in the past. And one thing we mentioned last time, the elephant in the room, is obviously now NXT UK is on BT Sports in the UK. The weird time slot where it's after the watershed, but they censor stuff. And part of me thinks they need to do something to make that show kind of must-see. More than just what we've had for the last few weeks of an hour of matches, and maybe one of them's good. They need it's not a critical. We have to take it off the air, but you only get one chance at making a first impression. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe they'll bring in some of the NXT US guys, try to prop it up a little bit with that, and we'll. I'm not fully sure where they go direction wise after this. Hopefully, it's not more wheel spinning though.
But yeah, like I say, we shall see, and I think we shall probably just be the two of us covering NXT UK every Thursday night.
There you go. So, Ian, I want to thank you for popping on again and talking with me. Had a good time, my friend.
Likewise, and say, if you want me back any time, more than welcome coming back. And yeah, I think the next big shows next big show out of the UK, and just going off on a tangent, is RevPro's High Stakes, I believe, in about a month, which features LA Park, not La Parker, who passed away today. Although I think one of the referees of RevPro kind of fell off the whole. I'm not going to name names because there's been so many people who've made this mistake, but one of the RevPro officials tweeted about, so I knew he was going to come over to the UK for a European tour. It's like, he still is. You got the wrong La Parker dude. Yeah, it's a sad end to a sad story. I mean, there's been gifts of a dive gone around. It was a sad sight. Yeah, rest in peace, quote, quote, fake La Parker.
All right, so Ian, again, real quick, where can the people find your work, sir?
So you can find my work over on backbodydrop.com. There's a lot of stuff going up there. I think this week, actually, we've got most of this week's actually written to go. So tomorrow, there's review of OTT's first show of the year up in Belfast, covering a bit, ironically, a feud of David Starr and Walter, going back in the archives of that. And obviously, back end of the week, we've got the finale of the New Japan Fantastic Mania Lucha Tour, which is a massive blind spot for me, but hey, we slog through it.
That's right. So again, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it, and I will be carrying on after Ian leaves us and talking Impact Hard to Kill. All right, as we carry on, the first thing I want to do is I want to thank Ian Hamilton for his time. Again, follow his work at backbodydrop.com. Ian is a good friend of mine. I always appreciate his time and talking to him. And he's kind of my go-to on the UK scene since he is over in that part of the world. So I want to thank him. And again, you guys, please check out his stuff. He does really great review work. Not that I want you to stop reading mine, but obviously, there are other people out there, and Ian is one of the best. So we're going to talk about some other things tonight. We have the Impact Hard to Kill pay-per-view. Impact's first pay-per-view. The company under Scott D'Amore and Don Callis have a really good track record of putting on good to great pay-per-views. And they were looking to start off 2020 in that way, including with the big Tessa Blanchard-Sami Callihan main event. So Hard to Kill took place down in Texas. We started off with an odd choice for an opener of Madman Fulton and Ken Shamrock. This match went 9:30, and Ken Shamrock ended up winning via submission. They did a gimmick to where he was attacking Fulton's shoulder, and they played up on commentary that he popped his shoulder out, that he didn't want to keep attacking him, but they had a kind of a sloppy counter exchange at the end. Fulton hit a rough-looking powerbomb. Shamrock countered into a Rings of Saturn and got the submission. It was rough. It had sloppy grappling as commentary was trying to sell Fulton as a former, I guess, All-American wrestler in high school, which he very well may have been. I'm not trying to downplay that. But it didn't play well. It had a really odd layout, and I felt it was the wrong winner because 2020, and it's nice that Ken Shamrock pops in, but I think Fulton has way more upside, and I also didn't think it was exactly a good choice for the opener of a pay-per-view. Crowd wasn't into it that much. It didn't have a great energy, and the finish came off really flat. So that was the opener, Ken Shamrock winning. Commentary then talked about Rich Swann's ankle injury, which he suffered at the Bash at the Brewery show, which during the match looked like one of those little babyface things that took him out, and that it was just a worked thing, but he actually severely hurt his ankle, which is never good. We had our first championship match of the evening. Ace Austin, the self-proclaimed Triple X Division champion, defending against Trey of the Rascals. Ace Austin defeated Trey at just under 13 minutes via pin. I thought they worked really well together, and they had a good match. But it was one of those matches that, you know, when you're watching a great match and the action and drama kind of escalates towards the end, it never really got into that next gear. I think they're capable of much better. I thought Ace Austin was clearly the better performer here. He's been really good during his Impact run. And it was one of those things that he was really good in MLW, but MLW just never really used him well. He was just a guy. Impact has put some time into him. He's developed well for them. He's delivered in the ring for them. His character is the douchey guy trying to bang people's wives and moms. It's fun in a douchebag heel way, and I think they got some legs with Ace Austin. I like it. He's good. So not a great match, but it was a good match. It picked up from the opener, and that was good. There was a little scuffle after the match as Ace tried to hit on Trey's mom, and they brawled. The Knockouts title match was next, and this was a match that I was unfortunately not looking forward to, because I was very much looking forward to Taya versus Jordynne Grace, because they had built up a really good story of Taya's year-long run. She dominated at times, but also escaped through shenanigans at other times, and they were really building up to the culmination of Jordynne Grace, who was one of the people she lost to, getting that redemption story and coming back to win the championship. Unfortunately, they did an angle on TV where ODB pinned Taya, and she was put into this match. Taya ended up retaining the championship at 12 minutes via pin. Unfortunately, I thought it was a bad match. It was very slavish to the kind of cliche triple threat formula where you do a lot of one-on-one while somebody takes a nap on the floor or lays in the corner. I thought that the work was largely sloppy and disjointed. ODB, God bless her, I'm sure she is a lovely woman. She really took away from the match for me. A lot of really rough spots, some sloppy stuff, a little bit of confusion here and there. It was subtraction by addition putting her into this match, unfortunately. So we'll see where they go from Taya. They're going to be taping TV, I think, next weekend in Mexico. And we'll see how much longer she holds the championship. There's a lot of people that are guessing right away that she's going to leave soon and go to WWE because John Morrison signed there. Who knows if that's true or not. But, right now she is still the current reigning and defending champion of over a year. I like Taya. I think she's done a lot of really good work. But unfortunately, I think Impact kind of bit themselves in the ass with this match by adding ODB into it. Again, it's a nice story. I greatly appreciate that they wanted to help her out, give her some bookings. They ran the shows in New York to help her out financially after she lost her food truck. But not everybody that used to be a star and gets older can still be a star. Not everybody can get older and work, for example, like a Kojima or a Nagata or a Negro Casas, as I saw on the Fantastica Mania tour. It's just not for everybody. Again, sure, she's a lovely woman, but unfortunately not good. We moved on to RVD versus Brian Cage. And this was weird. RVD attacked before the match as his girlfriend's girlfriend distracted Cage. And then RVD proceeded to essentially beat the shit out of him. He used some chairs, Van Daminator, did the coast-to-coast dropkick with the chair, busted Cage's mouth all open, And we got a doctor stoppage at 5:18. RVD essentially squashed Cage. And obviously everybody's really confused. But then during the show, the news comes out shortly after this that Brian Cage is apparently done with Impact and is signed with AEW. So, okay, that's fine. If Cage is leaving and RVD is staying, RVD should win. But no offense to Brian Cage, don't do a fucking ref stoppage. If RVD's the guy staying, just have RVD pin him. It's not rocket science. It's a very simple thing. I have no ill will towards Brian Cage. If he's getting a good payday for AEW and he thinks that's a good move for he and his family, God bless him. But again, as a business, Impact has to think about themselves first. And if RVD is sticking around, just pin the guy. It's not hard. So they did an angle where Dogga came out and he was confronting RVD about kicking the shit out of Cage. And that led to an impromptu match where RVD defeated Dogga in like 4 minutes. It was okay for what it was. The RVD push is slightly puzzling to me. He's a fun douchebag heel, but I am overall not super into it. And part of that is because he's limited in the ring. He plays the hits, and the hits aren't even that good anymore. It's like when you see an aging rock band on tour and they try to sing all the hits in the original key and they can't do it anymore. Unlike, say, Led Zeppelin when they did their London concert that they released on DVD and CD and streaming, obviously, to where they changed the keys of a bunch of songs so everybody could sing fine. And it still sounded really great. So you have to kind of adapt to your time. Again, I think the character's really good. I don't know how much legs it'll have, but I mean, I enjoy the character, and he's completely unlikable as he claims everybody stole his moves, and he has his stripper-esque girlfriend dancing with him all through the match and to the ring and stuff like that. It's a good act. I enjoy it, but again, I don't know how many legs it has in the ring and how long it'll last. So that was a really rough stretch of the pay-per-view. The good news is things started to pick up as we had the battle for the Collier title shot trophy with Michael Elgin and Eddie Edwards. This was a match that I think most people going into the show pegged as a match of the night contender, if not the outright match of the night. They had a really good match on Impact, which I thought was a little questionable, but they ran it again here on the pay-per-view. And Eddie Edwards finally defeated Michael Elgin. They went 20 minutes and 5 seconds via pin. This was, to me, excuse me, I'm getting a little hoarse here, the first match on the show that had a real sense of urgency to it. It was a really great, hard-hitting match that you would expect from these guys. Really good near falls, good drama, exactly what you would expect from these guys, and the kind of match that the show really needed to help it turn around. Because some of the stuff before it was quite honestly just bad. And that's not what you're looking for on pay-per-view, especially from a company that has established that they can consistently deliver on pay-per-view. So that led to Moose versus Rhino, and this was made into a no DQ match, I guess for reasons. They never really explained it. They just announced it was a no DQ match. Probably for the best because, as I've talked about, no matter how much Don Callis wants to hype up Rhino, he's not as good as he ever was. Stop telling me that. Moose was actually wearing some cool Randy Savage tribute gear tonight. And this was a big brawl for 12 minutes. Moose won the match, which was obviously the right call. He looked really good in the match. It was solid, but a bit lethargic, which is what you're going to get from Rhino these days. But it wasn't bad. So I had no problem with it. I'm glad it wasn't bad because I was kind of fearing for the worst. But the stipulation helped it out. And can we move Moose on from the older guys now? Because he beat RVD, he beat Shamrock, he beat Rhino. That's nice. That's great. But this is a guy that they have made into a kind of a big deal heel. He is a guy that they had designs on for a while to put the title on him. They held up during the Austin Aries title run. And, it seems like he's just been spinning his wheels. I like heel Moose. I think he does a lot of really good things. I think he's greatly improved over the last year. So I just, I think you need to start moving on with him and give him something to bite into, to really sink his teeth into, because kind of just beating RVD, Shamrock, and Rhino, while it, I guess, sounds good on paper because they have a name, isn't really doing much for him because it's not letting him shine in quality matches. The character's good, but there's nothing really behind it to get really invested in. And I think Moose is a guy that they can do a lot with. I know there are people kind of torn on Moose. A lot of people don't like him personally or whatever. I'm not really caring about that right now. I'm just talking about the wrestler, and I think he's done a lot of good work. And he's done his best with these guys who really can't go much anymore. So credit to him. Like I said, I thought he looked good here. This led to our Tag Team Championship match, and it was officially announced that Rich Swann was not cleared to compete. He was not allowed to go to ringside because they were afraid he would get involved and he was too hurt. So Willie Mack had to go it alone, couldn't even pick up a new partner. The North ended up defeating Willie Mack. They went 10 minutes and 40 seconds, and this was good. This was honestly good. Handicap matches can really suck sometimes because it's either just, we'll use the time frame we got here, 10:40. It's either nearly 11 minutes of the two guys beating the shit out of a guy, or it's the one person getting way too much into where they become unbelievable, and then a lot of the time the people with the advantage lose. Kind of killing that whole handicap stipulation. But this was good. The North are a great tag team. They played up their heel role really well. They kept tagging in and out without doing anything to him at the beginning just to mock him because they were allowed to do tags because they had a partner. And I thought, honestly, they made the best of a really bad situation here. Rich Swann was injured. Ethan Page was sick, suffering from salmonella. But they ended up putting on a good match. Willie Mack got enough in. He put in a great babyface performance. And he lost like he should have to a superior tag team because it was 2-on-1. The good news is that you can still go back and do the originally scheduled match down the line. And that match will probably be really good, if not great, because I was expecting it to be here. So I'll be really interested to see when they're able to kind of run that original match back. But again, really good work by the North here. They're a great heel tag team, good mechanics in the ring, just good workers. Some nice heel work in there, and again, Willie Mack, great babyface performance. They announced that in April, Impact will return to pay-per-view in New York City for the Rebellion pay-per-view. And that led to our World Championship match, Sami Callihan defending against Tessa Blanchard. They went 23 minutes and 50 seconds. The good news is it did not feel overly long. And at the end of the day, Tessa Blanchard overcame, defeated Sami Callihan via pin with the Buzzsaw DDT, and she is now the Impact World Champion. Now, going into the pay-per-view, there was a lot of speculation if Impact was still going to pull the trigger on her because of the stuff that came out on Twitter from years ago. And I think everybody knows that Tessa had a very checkered past. The reason she wasn't signed by WWE after the initial Mae Young Classic was because she reportedly had attitude issues. She showed attitude issues on the indies. She was disrespectful, allegedly, to people. And a lot of this came bubbling out before the pay-per-view. So a lot of people were like, are they still going to pull the trigger on her? She came out. She didn't get booed or anything tonight. I wouldn't say she got a thunderous reaction when she came out. She got a good reaction when she won. The crowd was definitely into the match. And overall, I thought they had a great main event. And I thought it was their best one-on-one match to date. They had two others that I thought were very good. But this one, I thought the drama and the overall moment took this one over the top of those previous matches. Thought the story was well done. It did come off like a big deal without them overly pushing it down your throat, which was nice. But like any big moment, my worry, it's not so much worry, but my concern, I guess, is going to be how are they going to follow this up? Is Tessa going to get a quality run? Are they going to make something out of this? Because I think if we're all honest with ourselves, Tessa has been the biggest star and most over star for Impact in the last year or so. And so putting the title on her made sense in that aspect. Is she going to get a quality run? Is this going to be one of those things where she maybe gets one defense and loses? Is she going to lose right away? I hope it's not one of those things, because I think if you're gonna pull the trigger and you're gonna do it, I think you just have to run with it. Anthem owns Access TV, so you're not now worried about angering the network for quote-unquote intergender wrestling offending people. So they have that safety net. You might as well run with it. And the thing is, her contract is reportedly coming up soon. And if I'm Impact, and I talked about this for a long time back with Jeremy when we talked about LAX, I think you have to put your best foot forward as a company to make her feel valuable and try to keep her. Because she is a big star. And she's going to get big money offers from places like WWE, from AEW. I mean, Sinclair's throwing out big money, but if I'm Tessa, I don't even look at ROH because that's just a dumpster fire as far as women's wrestling goes. WWE is probably going to offer the most money, but I mean, is she going to get a big role? Is she going to have to go to NXT, or is she going to be main roster bound? I think that will have to play into her decision. Also, what kind of money can Impact, give her as well? AEW, she obviously would have a chance, I think, to walk in and be the centerpiece of that division. So she's going to have a lot of open doors for her and big decisions to make. But if I'm Impact, you made the decision, you run with it. I think you put your best foot forward, and I think you give her a quality run, play off of this, and then see where it goes. Because maybe it works really well. Maybe you actually draw some really big interest. And that's not the worst thing for this company. And I'm not trying to say that as, in a downgrade type of thing or, being rude, but I just think that, they need to do everything they can to get as positive attention as they can to try to get good interest in. And this might be it. Who knows? Again, the online backlash didn't seem to bother the crowd, so that's fine. As far as the crowd goes, I don't know what the building holds, but by all accounts, it was an extremely strong crowd. I think technically a sellout. From the live reports I heard from people in the building, there were 30 to 50 empty seats, but the good news is they also apparently sold about 50 to 100 walk-up tickets. So when you add that into it, I think that's going to be a sellout for them. Again, I'm not sure how much the building holds. It's a smaller building. It's probably a 1,000 to 3,000 seat building. If they sold that out, that's great. That's good. I'm not one of those people that are going to be like, oh, it's a small building. Who gives a shit? No, if you sell tickets, you sell tickets. That's the name of the game. So hopefully they did a nice gate on it. Apparently they did really good at Bash the Brewery show too. They had a pretty strong crowd for that. I think they said a sellout as well. Not sure about the Twitch show, but it looked like a good weekend overall in terms of ticket sales for the company, which is nice to hear. As for the overall pay-per-view, there was some good to great on this show. But I felt that Hard to Kill was the weakest pay-per-view of the Callis D'Amore regime. There was certainly two great matches. You had Tessa's big moment, and those things really helped the pay-per-view from being worse than it was, because the beginning was really rough, if we're being honest. And I think we should be honest with ourselves, because it's 2020 and there's so much good wrestling out there. And the RVD stuff, the women's title match, a lot of that stuff just not good and bad. So overall, the pay-per-view is far from bad, but not at the level of their previous pay-per-views. And the company has kind of set a high standard for themselves. So, I mean, I think you should definitely catch Elgin versus Edwards and Tessa versus Sammy. And overall, I would call it an average, slightly above average pay-per-view. And I think that that's okay. I mean, hopefully they rebound with Rebellion and get back to form. Because, again, I think Impact has kind of set a standard for themselves to where they have really been consistent and delivered good to great pay-per-views. And this one just felt a little short from that that's kind of what you get when, honestly, no offense, you're booking an RVD and you add an ODB into a match that had a lot of potential. So those things hurt things, but overall, not a bad pay-per-view. I'm sure some people are going to be out there and they're going to be explaining to you that Impact is actually bad still and a bunch of bullshit like that. It's not the case. Definitely not a good or great show. It was solid. I expect them to do better in April. So, another thing I want to talk about before we close up shop for tonight. Marty Scurll Gate. Now, Jeremy and I, if you guys remember, talked a lot about the future of Marty Scurll in ROH and ROH's kind of poor decisions, not putting the title on him when they had a chance and he was the most over guy in the company and selling a ton of merchandise. And then you find out that they didn't put the title on him because they were afraid he'd leave when his contract was up. And then they put the title on Matt Taven, business tanked. And then his contract was technically up before Marty's was up. So none of that makes sense. So Marty's contract expired, he worked Final Battle Fallout, made the appearance at the NWA show. And there was a lot of speculation on Sinclair was going to offer him some big money with a lot of freedom to keep him. So the news came out this afternoon, Sunday afternoon, and you're probably listening Monday, so back on Sunday afternoon. According to PW Insider, full credit to them, because I always give credit, Marty Scurll signed a new deal with Ring of Honor. The sides have been working on the deal for a while. His original deal again expired in November, and by all reports, this looks like a 2-year deal. And Dave Meltzer reports that this is apparently the most lucrative deal in ROH history. And it makes sense because Marty was a big free agent. He was selling merchandise. He's always over. Delirious remains with the company in a creative capacity, but Marty Scurll is now the head booker of ROH. So there were reports that if he signed, he was going to get all kind of perks and freedoms, and apparently that's one of them. And that's really interesting because Marty Scurll played a power position, and he's going to be able to work various places on top of ROH. He's going to be able to work with the NWA and stuff. He's the booker. He was involved in all aspects of the Atlanta show, which was a good show. Marty and Villain Enterprises, his first act as booker, they dropped the 6-man titles. And apparently the free show they're running on February 9th was also a Marty Scurll idea. So it appears that Scurll's new contract is going to allow him to continue working with the NWA. The NWA storyline bled over into the Atlanta show when Nick Aldis arrived and attacked Villain Enterprises, and that led to Villain Enterprises being laid out by La Facción Ingobernable. And it's going to be interesting because they were definitely hyping a Marty Scurll-Nick Aldis rematch for the NWA title, which would be a rematch from the Crockett Cup. And that got the NWA some buzz. ROH and NWA were working together, and then they ended their agreement because NWA was going to be starting the Power Series. And now with Marty in this position of power, it looks as though the relationship is back on. And certainly it's a shot in the arm for ROH because nobody can deny they had a really rough 2019. Attendance was down. The company's overall profile, I would safely say, was at an all-time low. And that's not good because you look back and they had the Elite and all those guys, and that excuse me, led to them in New Japan selling out the Garden. Sorry about that, guys. So they had all that buzz, they were doing record attendance, and then it tanked in 2019. I have no idea if Marty's going to end up being a really good booker, but the one thing I do know is they needed to oust Delirious in the worst way. It was 10 years of mediocrity and staleness with Delirious at the helm. The guy didn't make 1 star as a booker. And he blew several opportunities, title changes at the wrong times, questionable pushes for various people. And I've been on the train for a long time that he needed to be out of power. So I think on the surface it's a good move because you need somebody fresh in there. Will Marty be a big success? I can't answer that. I don't know. I hope so for ROH's sake. But I fully respect Marty Scurll for playing from a position of power, seemingly getting everything he wants, and it's going to be interesting going forward. But here's the really interesting thing to me. to me, it feels like the best move as a booker at some point is going to be putting the title on Marty Scurll. But does Marty Scurll put the title on Marty Scurll now that he's the booker? Because as we look back in history, and you look back at like WCW and Kevin Nash having to book, it doesn't always work out well, and it can sometimes send a bad message. From everything I've heard from people in the know, people are very excited about the Marty Scurll deal and him getting creative power. I think Marty has a lot of supporters and a lot of fans in that company. So maybe there won't be a backlash from the guys in the locker room. Whether fan backlash happens or not, I can't answer that, but we don't know. It's a really interesting time. ROH has locked up, Bandito, Flamita. Shane Taylor's still going to be working with the company, which I'm very happy about. So, again, the cupboard is far from bare in ROH. They have a lot of work to do to undo the damage that was done in 2019. I enjoyed their first show of 2019, the Center Stage show. I'm going to be reviewing the Charlotte show here very soon. But I think that they're off to a positive start going into 2020. You have a new booker, you have some freshness, you have some good people locked in. But again, I just want to caution everybody that turnaround is not going to happen overnight. There is no way in the world that they can just in a month or two be back on track and be back to where they were when the Elite and Cody and all those guys were still around. It's going to take a lot of work. You're going to have to win back fan support. And it's kind of fitting that I'm talking about this because I just talked about Impact, which has been a company that's been working really hard to largely erase the memory. Mostly erase the memory of TNA as a whole almost. And I don't mean that because obviously they talk about the good parts, but they want people to forget Dixie Carter, the Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff stuff. The things that really alienated those fans that were very loyal to that product. They're working hard on it. They're trying. Impact has a lot of good people. So we'll see what happens with these companies going on to 2020. I hope the best for them. I like a lot of what they do. I like a ton of the people on the roster. And I just want really good wrestling overall because that's my job. That's what I do every day. So that's going to wrap us up for tonight. I want to thank everybody for listening to tonight's show. I want to thank Ian Hamilton again. And this is the 411 on Wrestling podcast. You guys can follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, the 411mania.com website, any major podcasting platform. Please make sure to subscribe to our show. Share us around on social media, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you guys are on. Leave us a 5-star review on the podcasting platform of your choice. Hit that subscribe on YouTube. I want to go to the pay window someday with this. It would be greatly appreciated. I thank you guys for all your support. December was a really great month for us, and that's only possible because you guys have been so extremely supportive. Wednesday night, I will have somebody on the show filling in for Jeremy, who, as we talked about the other day, is no longer a full-time contributor on the show. Going to do some other things, spend some time with his wife. But we will have some other people popping in from time to time. So until then, have a great week, everybody, and happy wrestling.